Admiral Severa of the American Empire stood at the command center of the stellar dominance, her crystalline form catching the light of Earth's sun. The planet below seemed unremarkable, another life-bearing world in the vast expanse of space. Yet something about the preliminary scans troubled her. "Chief Science Officer Nexel, report," she commanded, her voice resonating through the chamber's crystalline walls. The spindly alien rushed forward, multiple appendages manipulating the holographic displays. "The Bictal species calls themselves humans. Their technology level is—" Nexel hesitated, inconsistent. "They possess crude fusion power and basic space travel, but their defensive capabilities are remarkably primitive. No energy shields, no photon barriers, not even basic thermal dispersion fields." Severa's crystalline structure shifted, expressing confusion in the American way. "Impossible. No spacefaring species could survive without thermal protection. The cosmic radiation alone. They use simple metal alloys and ceramic plates." Nexel interrupted, then quickly lowered his sensory stalks in apology for the breach of protocol. "Their bodies appear to handle temperature variations naturally." The Admiral moved closer to the viewing portal, studying the blue-green world below. The American Empire had conquered 12 star systems through superior technology, particularly their mastery of energy weapons. Every species they'd encountered relied on artificial means to regulate temperature and defend against energy-based attacks. Yet these humans— "Begin the standard contact protocol," Severa ordered. "But keep our weapons primed. I want a full battle fleet ready to deploy at the first sign of resistance." The next 12 hours passed in a blur of diplomatic transmissions. The humans, represented by their United Earth Council, responded to the American arrival with surprising calm. Too calm, in Severa's assessment. Either they were foolishly naive or dangerously confident. "They're refusing our terms of surrender," Communications Officer Lyrics announced, her crystalline form vibrating with indignation. "They say they wish to maintain their independence and propose trade negotiations instead." Severa's form hardened, a sign of resolution among her kind. "Deploy the fleet. Standard conquest formation. Let's show them why the American Empire has never failed to subjugate a primitive species." The American battle fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, 500 ships arranged in a hemisphere above Earth's northern continent. Severa had chosen to target a military installation in a region the humans called North America for their first demonstration of power. "Energy weapons charge," Weapons Officer Crystal reported, "targeting their largest military complex. Energy output at standard subjugation levels. Fire." The combined energy weapons of 500 American warships struck the human military base simultaneously. The air itself seemed to ignite as massive amounts of thermal energy were deposited directly onto the target. Severa watched with satisfaction, expecting to see the primitive structures melt and vaporize. Nothing happened. "Report," she demanded. Nexel's appendages flew across his instruments. "Energy delivery confirmed. But the humans are simply continuing their activities. There." He paused in disbelief. "They're taking pictures of the light show with their personal devices." "Impossible. Increase power to maximum." The American fleet responded, pushing their weapons beyond safety limits. The sky above the military base turned into a dazzling display of light and heat. When the energy dissipated, the base remained intact. Humans could be seen walking around, some pointing up at the fleet, others apparently complaining about the bright lights. "Admiral." Nexel's voice trembled. "I'm detecting numerous small aircraft approaching our fleet. They appear to be civilian craft. Humans are flying up to get a better view." Severa's crystalline form clouded with confusion. What manner of defense could they possibly have? Scan their bodies. The results that came back shook the American command staff to their core. The humans weren't using any defensive technology at all. Their bodies were naturally maintaining homeostasis despite the massive energy discharge. Their cellular structure, their very biology, seemed to laugh in the face of the Americans' most potent weapons. "Admiral," Nexel reported, his voice barely a whisper, "the humans are broadcasting. They're asking if we're trying to communicate through some kind of light-based signal system. They'd want to know if we need assistance with our malfunctioning light show." For the first time in her long military career, Admiral Severa felt fear. The American Empire had built its dominion on the superiority of their energy weapons. Every species they'd encountered had needed extensive artificial defenses against thermal attacks. But humans simply shrugged it off as if it were nothing more than a warm day. "New transmission from Earth," Lyrics announced. "Their scientists are requesting a meeting. They say they'd be fascinated to study our energy projection technology, and they're offering to help us understand why it's not working as intended." Severa's crystalline form vibrated with a mixture of horror and awe. In all her years of conquest, she'd never encountered a species that responded to an attack by offering scientific collaboration. The humans weren't just unaffected by their weapons. They didn't even recognize they were being attacked. "Recall the fleet," she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of a civilization's assumptions crumbling. "And send word to the Imperial Council. The humans are something new, something we never prepared for." As the American fleet retreated to a safe distance, Earth's scientific community began broadcasting detailed proposals for joint research projects. They were excited about the possibility of learning from the advanced light manipulation technology demonstrated by the alien visitors. In the command center of the Stellar Dominance, Admiral Severa watched the incoming messages with growing understanding. The American Empire had just encountered a species that would fundamentally change their understanding of the galaxy. The question was no longer how to conquer humanity, but how to deal with a species that was, in at least one crucial way, far more advanced than they were, even if the humans themselves didn't realize it yet. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Council, her hands steady as she manipulated the holographic display. The chamber was packed with representatives from every major nation, along with a small delegation of American observers whose crystalline forms reflected the room's lighting in mesmerizing patterns. "What you're looking at," she explained, zooming in on a complex molecular structure, "is why the American energy weapons had no effect on us. Human cellular structure has something that no other known species possesses: an extraordinary ability to regulate and adapt to thermal changes." The lead American scientist, Director Krista, moved forward, her crystalline form clouded with confusion. "But the energy output of our weapons is sufficient to vaporize most known materials. How can mere biological processes resist such force?" Sarah smiled, pulling up comparison diagrams. "That's the fascinating part. Our bodies don't just resist the heat, they adapt to it. Each human cell contains multiple mechanisms for thermal regulation, developed over millions of years of evolution. We emerged on a planet with extreme temperature variations, from Arctic cold to desert heat. Our ancestors survived by developing these adaptations." The holographic display shifted to show human cellular activity under thermal stress. "Watch what happens when we expose human tissue to intense heat. The cells don't just endure, they become more efficient at handling thermal energy. It's like a muscle getting stronger with exercise." "Impossible," one of the American scientists whispered, their crystalline form vibrating with disbelief. General Michael Rodriguez, head of Earth's Defense Forces, stepped forward. "Not impossible. This is why humans can survive in environments that would kill most species. It's why we can handle everything from frozen tundra to scorching deserts. Your energy weapons," he chuckled, "to us, they feel like a warm day at the beach." The revelation sent shockwaves through the American delegation. Their entire military doctrine was based on the supremacy of their energy weapons. Every species they'd encountered had needed extensive artificial defenses against thermal attacks. But humans had evolved natural defenses that surpassed anything technology could provide. "There's more," Sarah continued, bringing up new data. We've discovered that human cells don't just resist thermal energy. They can store and redirect it. Our bodies are essentially living thermal regulators, far more sophisticated than any artificial system. The implications weren't lost on anyone in the chamber. Humanity's primitive biology had turned out to be more advanced than the Americans' most sophisticated technology. The supposed weakness that had made Earth look like an easy target was actually their greatest strength. Director Krista moved closer to the holographic display, her crystalline form shifting with intense interest. Dr. Chen, are you suggesting that human biology could be weaponized? The chamber fell silent. Sarah exchanged glances with General Rodriguez before responding carefully. We prefer to think of it as an opportunity for defense and cooperation. Yes, we could potentially develop weapons based on our thermal absorption capabilities. But we're more interested in how this discovery could benefit both our species. The American delegation huddled together, their crystalline forms resonating in silent communication. Finally, Director Krista spoke again. The Imperial Council must be informed of these findings. This changes everything. Our military doctrine, our technological development, our entire understanding of biological evolution. General Rodriguez stepped forward again. It also changes the nature of our relationship. The American Empire attempted to conquer Earth because you thought we were defenseless. Now you know better. So the question is, do we move forward as adversaries or allies? The tension in the chamber was palpable. Centuries of American military superiority had been challenged not by advanced technology, but by the simple fact of human biology. Their entire strategy of galactic conquest had been built around weapons that were useless against humanity. There's something else you should know, Sarah added, pulling up one final set of data. We've been studying the effects of prolonged exposure to your energy weapons. The human tissue samples show increasing resistance with each exposure. In other words, the more you use your weapons against us, the stronger our resistance becomes. The American delegation's crystalline forms clouded with what humans had learned to recognize as deep concern. Their ultimate weapon wasn't just ineffective against humans, it actually made them stronger. The Imperial Council will need time to process this information, Director Krista said finally. But I believe it would be prudent to begin discussing terms for peaceful cooperation. As the meeting adjourned, Sarah watched the American delegation depart, their crystalline forms still vibrating with agitation. She turned to General Rodriguez. Do you think they'll really accept peaceful cooperation? The general smiled grimly. They don't have much choice. Their entire military strategy just became obsolete. The question now is, how do we use this advantage to ensure lasting peace rather than starting a different kind of war? Sarah nodded, turning back to her data displays. Humanity had just demonstrated that they were far more formidable than anyone, including themselves, had realized. The challenge now was to use that strength wisely, to build bridges rather than walls. After all, they had just proved that sometimes the best defense isn't technology at all. It's simply being human. Commander Maya Patel stood in the control room of Earth's first thermal adaptation research facility, watching as volunteers underwent training in the newly developed thermal chambers. Through reinforced windows, she could see men and women in specialized suits, their bodies glowing with absorbed energy as they learned to consciously control their natural thermal regulation abilities. Impressive progress, Dr. Chen said, joining her at the window. 6 months ago, we didn't even know we had these capabilities. Now look at them. Maya nodded, checking the readings on her tablet. Team 4 just broke another record. They're not just resistant to the energy, they're learning to redirect it. The Americans aren't going to know what hit them. The facility, built in the Australian outback, had become humanity's premier defense research center. After discovering their unique thermal adaptation abilities, humans had moved quickly to understand and enhance their natural advantages. Speaking of the Americans, Sarah said, pulling up a holographic display, our long-range sensors detected 3 of their scout ships at the edge of the solar system. They're trying to be subtle about it, but they're definitely studying us. Maya smiled grimly. Let them watch. Every day they wait is another day we get stronger. She turned to face the scientist. How's the new project coming along? Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement. The thermal redirect suits. They're exceeding all expectations. Here, let me show you. They moved to another section of the facility, where a massive testing chamber dominated the space. Inside, a single operator wearing what looked like a sleek wetsuit stood before a bank of energy projectors. Initial test of thermal redirect suit Mark VI, Sarah announced into her recorder. Beginning energy discharge in 3, 2, 1. The projectors fired, bathing the chamber in intense energy beams, similar to American weapons. But instead of dispersing harmlessly, the energy seemed to flow into the suit, causing it to glow with increasing intensity. The operator raised their hands, and suddenly the accumulated energy shot back toward the projectors in a focused beam. That's impossible, came a crystalline voice from the doorway. Both women turned to see Director Krista, their American liaison, her form clouded with what they now recognized as shock. You've weaponized our own energy attacks. Not weaponized, Sarah corrected quickly. We've developed a way to safely redirect thermal energy. It's actually based on studying how American crystals channel energy through their natural lattice structure. We combine that with our understanding of human thermal adaptation. Maya stepped forward. We wanted you to see this, Director. Your council needs to understand that continuing hostile actions would be unwise. The American scientist's form shifted through various patterns of distress. You understand this changes everything. The Empire's entire defensive doctrine is based on the assumption that energy weapons are unblockable if you can not only resist them but reflect them back. Then maybe it's time for a new doctrine, Maya suggested, one based on cooperation rather than conquest. Before Krista could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Maya rushed to the nearest console, her expression hardening as she read the incoming data. Multiple American warships just emerged from hyperspace, she announced. Not scouts this time. It's a full battle fleet. Looks like some members of your empire weren't as interested in peaceful cooperation as you are, Director. Sarah was already moving, activating emergency protocols across the facility. All thermal training teams to battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. You don't understand. Krista's crystalline form was vibrating with genuine fear. That's not an Imperial fleet. Those are the Separatists, a faction that broke away when the Council began pursuing peace talks with Earth. They believe the only way to preserve American supremacy is to destroy humanity before you become too powerful. Maya's hand moved to the communications panel. Then they're about to learn just how powerful we've become. General Rodriguez. Implementation authorization. Thermal shield protocol. Across Earth, hidden facilities activated. Thousands of trained thermal adapters donned their redirect suits, taking positions at strategic points around the planet. In space, the Separatist fleet moved into attack formation, their energy weapons charging for what they believed would be a devastating first strike. They're targeting major population centers, Sarah reported, monitoring the global defense grid. They think they can overwhelm our natural resistance with sheer firepower. Maya's expression was grim but confident. They're about to learn the hard way. The more energy they throw at us, the stronger we become. Director Krista, I suggest you take cover. This is going to be quite a light show. As the Separatist fleet opened fire, humanity prepared to demonstrate just how far they'd come in mastering their unique abilities. The age of American military supremacy was about to end, not with a whimper, but with the brightest display of thermal energy the galaxy had ever seen. The sky above Earth erupted in a dazzling display of energy as the American Separatist fleet launched their attack. Thousands of energy beams converged on major population centers, creating an apocalyptic light show that would have annihilated any other species. But humanity was ready. In the Australian Command Center, Maya watched as the global defense network activated. All thermal adaptation teams report ready, she announced. Redirect systems online. The separatist energy weapons struck Earth's atmosphere, and something unprecedented happened. Instead of dispersing or being absorbed, the energy began to flow like rivers of light, channeling through invisible networks created by thousands of linked thermal adapters. Energy redirection at 30% capacity and climbing, Sarah reported, her fingers flying across multiple holographic displays. The suits are performing better than our simulations predicted. Director Krista watched in amazement as her species' most powerful weapons were caught and channeled by human defenders. "This is impossible," she whispered. "The energy levels they're handling." "Look," Maya pointed to the main display. The redirected energy was being funneled into massive collection arrays, another innovation born from studying American crystal technology. "We're not just defending. We're preparing to return their gift." In orbit, the Separatist commander, Pyrex, watched with growing concern as his fleet's attack produced none of the expected devastation. "Increase power to maximum," he ordered. "Overwhelm their defenses." The Separatist ships pushed their weapons beyond safety limits, pouring even more energy into the attack. On Earth, the thermal adaptation teams felt the increase but remained steady. Their suits glowed brighter, channeling the additional power into the collection arrays. "Collection arrays at 80% capacity," Sarah announced. 90, 95. Maya keyed the global command channel. "All teams prepare for synchronized counterattack. Remember your training. Control the flow. Don't let the power control you." The collection arrays reached full capacity just as the Separatist fleet exhausted their initial barrage. For a moment, an eerie quiet fell over the battlefield. "Now," Maya ordered. Every collection array on Earth activated simultaneously. The stored energy, enhanced and focused by human thermal adaptation capabilities, shot skyward in precise beams. But unlike the raw energy attacks of the Separatists, these beams were controlled, guided by human consciousness working in harmony with the redirect technology. By the crystal core, Krista gasped as she watched the counterattack. The precision, the control. The focused energy beams struck the Separatist fleet with surgical accuracy. Instead of trying to destroy the ships, the human defenders targeted their weapon systems and engines. Ship after ship went dark, their energy weapons overloaded by their own redirected power. On the Separatist flagship, Pyrex watched in horror as his fleet was systematically disabled. "Impossible. They're using our own energy against us. Retreat, full retreat." But it was too late. The few ships that still had functioning engines tried to flee, only to find themselves caught in carefully crafted energy nets, another innovation combining human thermal control with American crystal technology. "All Separatist vessels have been neutralized," Maya reported. "Minimal damage to their life support systems. We can begin rescue operations whenever you're ready." Director Krista. The American scientist's crystalline form shifted through patterns of awe and relief. "You could have destroyed them completely. Why show mercy?" Sarah smiled. "Because this was never about destruction. It was about proving a point. Humanity's strength isn't just in our ability to resist energy weapons. It's in our ability to choose how we use that power." Over the next several hours, Earth's newly commissioned space fleet, equipped with thermal adaptation technology, moved to secure the disabled Separatist ships. The captured crews were surprised to find themselves treated with respect and dignity, their injuries tended to by human medical teams who had already learned to adapt their thermal abilities for healing purposes. In the aftermath of the battle, Maya and Sarah stood with Director Krista, watching the rescue operations on the main display. "Your council will receive full documentation of this encounter," Maya said, "including our deliberate choice to disable rather than destroy, and our humanitarian treatment of the captured crews." Krista's form had finally settled into a pattern indicating deep thought. "This will change everything. Not just military doctrine, but our entire understanding of power and its responsible use." "That's what we're hoping for," Sarah agreed. Today proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our thermal resistance, it's our ability to adapt, innovate, and choose a better path forward. As the sun set on Earth's first major interstellar battle, news of humanity's victory and their surprising restraint began spreading across the galaxy. The species that many had dismissed as primitive had just demonstrated not only unprecedented power, but also unexpected wisdom in its use. The age of American military supremacy was over, but something far more interesting was beginning, an era where humanity's unique abilities might help forge a more balanced and peaceful galaxy. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the newly established Galactic Thermal Research Institute stood as a symbol of transformation. The massive facility, built through joint human and American cooperation, combined the best of both species' knowledge and capabilities. Dr. Sarah Chen, now serving as its director, stood before an assembled crowd of representatives from 12 different spacefaring civilizations. "Welcome to the first Galactic Conference on Thermal Adaptation," she began, as holographic displays activated around the auditorium. What began as a defensive capability has evolved into something far more significant. The displays showed various applications of human thermal adaptation technology, from environmental restoration to medical breakthroughs. In one corner, a human thermal adapter worked with a team of crystalline Americans, using controlled energy manipulation to repair damaged crystal structures. Commander Maya Patel, recently promoted to Earth's Chief of Interstellar Defense, watched from the sidelines with Director Krista. Both had played crucial roles in transforming potential conflict into cooperation. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when your fleet first arrived?" Maya asked, gesturing to the diverse gathering. Krista's crystalline form sparkled with what humans had learned to recognize as amusement. "When we discovered Earth, we thought we were finding an easy conquest. Instead, we found teachers." The conference hall buzzed with activity as representatives from various species discussed the implications of human thermal adaptation. Some were former victims of American expansion, now seeing possibilities for their own defense. Others were interested in the peaceful applications of the technology. The breakthrough came when we stopped thinking of thermal adaptation as just a defensive trait. Sarah explained to the assembled delegates, "Human biology doesn't just resist energy. It works with it, channels it, transforms it. By understanding this process, we've opened new frontiers in energy manipulation." The main display showed footage from the new Thermal Adaptation Academy, where humans trained alongside members of other species. While non-humans couldn't replicate humanity's natural thermal resistance, they could learn to work with human partners to achieve similar results. "The American separatist attack taught us an important lesson," Maya added, stepping up to join Sarah. "Power isn't about destruction. It's about control, understanding, and choice." Humanity's greatest strength wasn't that we could resist energy weapons. It was that we chose to use that ability to protect rather than destroy. In the audience, former Separatist Commander Pyrex sat among his former enemies, his crystalline form showing patterns of deep reflection. After his capture, he had been one of the first to recognize the potential of human-American cooperation. "Our species spent centuries perfecting energy weapons," he addressed the gathering. "Humans spent millennia perfecting energy adaptation. The difference is crucial. We saw energy as something to be unleashed. They understand it as something to be worked with, guided, transformed." Sarah nodded in agreement, which brings us to today's announcement. The Galactic Council has approved the establishment of the first Joint Species Thermal Research Initiative. Every member species will contribute their unique understanding of energy manipulation, working together to develop new applications. The announcement was met with enthusiastic response. Already, the combination of human thermal adaptation and American crystal technology had led to breakthroughs in energy production, environmental protection, and space travel. Other species were eager to add their own knowledge to the mix. Later, in a quiet moment after the conference, Sarah found herself standing with Maya and Krista in the Institute's observation dome, watching Earth's sunset. Sometimes I wonder, Sarah mused, what would have happened if your weapons had worked on us, if we hadn't had this quirk of biology? The galaxy would be a very different place, Krista responded, her crystalline form shifting thoughtfully. The American Empire would still be expanding, other species would still live in fear, and we would never have learned the most important lesson of all. Which is? Maya asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. That true power isn't about dominance, Krista said. It's about adaptation, cooperation, and growth. Humanity didn't just survive our weapons. You showed us a better way to use energy itself. As night fell over the Institute, ships from a dozen worlds moved through the sky above, their crews working together in ways that would have been unimaginable just a year before. Human thermal adapters served on vessels throughout the galaxy, not as weapons, but as bridges between species, teaching and learning in equal measure. The threat of energy weapons had been neutralized not through superior firepower, but through understanding and adaptation. Humanity had transformed from a target of conquest into a catalyst for change, proving that sometimes the best defense isn't just about withstanding an attack, it's about transforming it into something better. In the end, the heat within had turned out to be not just a shield, but a torch lighting the way to a new era of galactic cooperation.